You've come to the MAAP program where we discuss how to make a plan for your pet, how to navigate the journey your pet takes if, in fact, something happens to you, long-term or short-term. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you might break a leg, you might be suffering with cancer, you might be delayed. I call it the 6 Ds that could befall you that will inhibit your ability to care for your pet, which is why I made the MAAP plan. In 2013, I was an attorney, and I loved doing what I was doing. Hi, Joan. Thanks. I'm glad you're all back. Thank you, God. So we're all together now, and that ugly screen is not there, so technology works when it works. So the MAAP plan is the plan you make to navigate the journey your pet takes when you can't care for it. As some of you might know, because I think a few of you might have been here before, I broke my ankle in 2013 and I had 9 Irish setters. Now I'm an attorney. I'm not a trust and estate attorney, but I'm an attorney. You'd think I would have a plan. No, I didn't. And my family was taking care of me. And as I laid there for 8 weeks recovering from a broken ankle, I realized that what befell me clearly will befall most of the people who own either one animal or several animals. They're just going to assume their family is going to take care of the pet while they are recovering. Well, that's probably true, but wouldn't you like to be proactive and make sure that these things are things that, you're absolutely right, Rose, Mercury in retrograde, but I love it because it just means that these people are committed to the MAAP plan. So I decided to write a plan, and it has evolved since 2013 to be huge. I have a blueprint program where I help people every 20 days do one piece of the program so that at the end they can bring it to their trust and estate attorney, incorporate it into their trust and estate documents, and refer to it in the estate documents so they don't have to rewrite the estate documents every year, but they can rewrite the MAAP document every year because your pet's needs change, your needs change, the people who you appoint to take care of your pets change. This is why the MAAP plan is so important for you as a pet owner, for you as a trust and estate practitioner, to enable people to understand the deep need they have to make a plan for their pet. So I broke my ankle in 2013, had no plan in place, sat for 8 weeks, wrote this program, upgraded this program every year since then. And what it does is it helps you compartmentalize and cut down piece by piece what it is you need to do to make sure your pets are cared for. So in the box to the right, the chat box, let me know if you have any pets and what kind of pets you have. I volunteer that I used to have a horse, and I sort of kind of have a horse now because if something happens to the girl who owns him, he comes back to me. And then I have 4 dogs, and I have a grandkitty. So what do you all have if you have any animals? Right over in the chat box. If you hit the chat at the bottom, you can write 2 dogs. Thanks, Maureen. Yay. And how about you, Joan? What do you have? And Rose, what do you have? Well, I'll wait for you to navigate because Mercury is in retrograde, so everybody's having an issue with. A horse, 2 corgis, a cat, 4 tortoises. Oh, my God. And a partridge in a pear tree. Yes, I love that because at least you have a sense of humor, Joan. Thank you so much. So it is important to make a plan, especially Joan, because you have long-lived animals. You have horses, live about 30 to 40 years, God willing, and the creek don't rise, and tortoises live about 100 years, God willing, and the creek don't rise. So what you want to do is you want to make this plan that helps you know that if something happens to you, short-term, long-term, those pets are cared for. It will also make your trust and estate attorney thrilled that you have taken it out of their hands to try to find a caregiver for your pets and created this plan that they can easily follow. It's foolproof. I mantra redundancy. What usually happens in a trust and estate plan is that most of the people say, well, my husband will take care, and if my husband doesn't take care, my kids will take care. If my kids don't take care, well, my neighbor will take care. That's redundancy, but not really the best kind of redundancy. Our families if we're ill, want to take care of us. If we're ill, we want our pets with us. How do we make that work? I don't know if you watched the recent commercials on television for all the new Lasta and LiverPro, I think, all the cancer medications and the, not Keytruda yet, but most of them show someone staying home with their dog. I'm sort of a little miffed that they don't show people staying home with their cat, because my clients who are cat owners say, well, I come home to be with my cat. But it shows them with their family, and with their family including their pet. And how do you do that? If you're suffering from the after effects of a broken bone, surgery, anesthesia, chemotherapy, you really need someone to help you care for your pet. It may be just come over 3 times a day and let them out, play it, throw a ball, whatever. But it's something that's a plan that you have in place. And for me, I like to do it both inside and outside of your will, because as I said at the beginning, before Mercury's retrograde messed up our first recording, you need to make a plan both inside and outside your will, because you're not really sure you're going to die. So your trust and estate attorney is really the best person to create that document in your estate. But this is the best program to create the document that supports that, because you want to make sure that you are proactive in making a plan for your pets. Let's see, Joan, you have Nancy with me, 2 dogs, 2 cats, a horse, mother that lives with her. Oh, God, you've got everything going there. And so I'm so glad you put that up there. Your mother's living with you. So clearly your mother is at least 20 years older than you. So if you're 50, she's 70. My husband broke his shoulder. And so that was 2016, I think. 15 or 16. I think it was 16. And I had the MAAP plan in place because I had broken my ankle in 2013. So I had my MAAP plan in place and never thought of it helping me with anything other than something happening to me. Because, you know, if it doesn't happen to me, I can take care of my pets. Yes. When my husband broke his shoulder, now this is not a negative comment about men, please don't take it that way, he was in a lot of pain and he needed a lot of care. What did I do? I implemented the MAAP program because I could, because I had the people in place to care for my pets once, twice, 3 times a day, depending on doctor's appointments, depending on whether or not I had to hold his hand, depending on just wanting to be with him. It was fabulous. So I realized, well, MAAP plan isn't just good for me if I have an issue. It's good for me if any of my family members, friends, whatever, have an issue, because I'll be able to put it in place to help others. So that's why you're here. You're here to learn a little bit more about what the MAAP plan stands for and why it is you might want to join the Blueprint program to get her done, so to speak. So the MAAP plan stands for make a plan, address the needs of your pet, appoint the caregivers, and publish the plan. It is imperative not to put the plan in a drawer. I had a woman who came and spent a weekend with me in California when I did the MAAP plan about 4 years ago. We sat down, and instead of having this Blueprint program, which is simple and easy, you can just sign up for it and become a part of the group and always be able to log in and update and learn the updates, and you know, once you're in, you're in. I didn't have it then. And so after I left for the weekend, I just presumed you spent, you know, $450 to spend a weekend with me to make this MAAP plan, and that you would make a plan, address the needs of your pet, appoint caregivers, and publish. Well, she did make a plan. She did appoint the caregivers. She did address the needs of her pets, and she never published. And unfortunately, she passed away. And her husband didn't know she made a plan. No idea. She didn't publish. Her attorney didn't know she made a plan. She never published. So when people say to me, Deborah, why do you have publish? I mean, what does that got to do with it? Because if people don't know the plans you put in place, they're not going to execute the plans you put in place to the best of their ability. Nothing's written in stone, but this is better than nothing written. Most of my people say, who come to my programs and come to the Blueprint program, they say, Deborah, I know what I'm doing. My kids know what they're doing. My husband knows what they're doing. I have a friend. I go, is it in writing? They go, no, they know. I said, let me tell you, there is nothing worse than arriving on the scene after you've lost someone or someone is injured and in the hospital and try to figure out how to feed the dogs. Try to figure out how to feed the horse. Try to see if the horse loads well into a trailer. Try to see if the tortoises can eat romaine and not eat chicory. There is all sorts. Hey, Lynette, welcome, welcome. You'll get the recording, so don't worry that you've missed anything. We're so glad you're here. We're talking about making the plan and why you need to make the plan. Because if you just have it as a discussion, it doesn't come to fruition. Most of my colleagues who have multiple dogs say, listen, we have talked about this over wine, and Anne-Marie, Carolyn, and Susie all said they'd take my dogs. I'm like, great. So I was telling the story about how I held a weekend program for the MAAP plan in California. There were about 30 people there. People paid $450 to be there for 2 days to make sure they created their full MAAP plan, which was wonderful. I didn't have the Blueprint program then with courses online, a webinar, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You can just come when we hold it, you get the recording, you know, and you're part of it forever in 17 days. But this person participated, and Lynette, for your benefit, I'll tell you exactly what MAAP stands for. It's the map that navigates the journey your pet takes when you can't care for it, short-term or long-term. It stands for making a plan, which most people don't do. It stands for addressing the needs of your pet, which are in your head, not on paper, 9 times out of 10. Appointing caregivers, which people do by word of mouth, never write it down. And publishing that plan, which never happens because you've never written it down, so it never happens. Your trust and estate provider. Oh, I've been on your webinar before. Oh, great, Lynette. Thank you. I've taken lots of notes, but the reminder is great. Thank you. Great. Super. So we will soldier on. This woman who attended my program out in California passed away suddenly after surgery. It was terrible, and I was so sad because she was an Irish setter owner. So I own Irish setters, and we're a close-knit group. We stick together. And another person came in and said to her husband, who had no idea she made the MAAP plan, she never published it, I'll take care of the dogs. I'll place them. And so she did. And as anyone who knows about trust and estate and everything, if the executor, her husband, tells someone to do something, it sometimes is okay. So the co-owners of these dogs all came, who were supposed to be the people in the plan to take the dogs if something happened to her, came to take the dogs, and P.S., the dogs were gone, and P.S., she said, too bad, they're in great homes, and I'm not telling you. And so the rigmarole of trying to, sue the executor maybe and then implead her because she's the one who knew, and it was expensive, and nobody has any money. So the plans this person made for the care of her pets, long-term, short-term, never came to fruition because she didn't do the P. So every piece of this program is so valuable and so important. You don't understand exactly how important it is until something happens to you. I actually had someone who went through the Blueprint program, and now it's a rotating program, so you don't have to, oh, we're starting it in January. No. We always address one of the letters. If you've already had the letter, hang up, don't stay. If you haven't had the letter, stay. If you want to hear the new things that I have found out from input from my attendees, I suggest you stay. Because between the trust and estate attorneys who take the Blueprint program and the people who own animals who take the Blueprint program, and my colleagues, I have people who are disaster preparedness people, I have people who are animal communicators who want to help people make a plan for their pets. At the beginning of this conversation, I noted that the pet service industry is a $69 billion industry. So if you're going to spend that much money on coats and shoes and food and vet, you should really spend a little bit of money on making sure that you navigate the journey they take if you can't care for them. Because presuming that the people in your family are going to take care of the pets is not necessarily always true. And it behooves you to have incredible redundancy. It will help your trust and estate provider, the person who's writing your will, to know the people you've put in place to care for the pet. Because usually what they do is they have one person. I mean, that's standard practice. One person they're going to call to take care of the pet. Great, wonderful. And that person might have predeceased you, because usually people make their wills and never rewrite them. They either predeceased you, they moved from their 4-acre farm where they were going to take your pet to a no-pet building. That really stinks in a big way. Or they have an animal that doesn't get along with other animals, so now they can't necessarily take your pet. And your attorney's like, humana, 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 what do I do now? Who do I find? Where do I go? Well, if they have access, which they would, because they'd be the person you publish with, they would know the next person and the next person. Not just your husband, your wife, your kids, your neighbor. They would know who the person was that was the next person in line to take care of your pet. So that's why being part of the Blueprint program is so important, because you get to do it. You get to really explore what it is you need to plan for with your pets. How many disasters have we had in the past month? We have fire, we have tornadoes, we have floods, we have train derailments. You know, you could have been on the train of the derailment. I often say there were so many animals left unattended on 9/11 because the people lived alone and they hadn't made a MAP plan. They didn't know about the MAP plan. I wasn't even doing it then. But for you, you could be on a plane, stranded, can't get home. 6 Ds. I love this. This is my thing with Denise Fleck. We sometimes say the 8 Ds because we include Denise and Deborah, because she's the disaster person and I am the planning person. Disease, delay, disability, divorce, death, and disability. 6 Ds. You have to plan for those. Your pet will not be cared for if, in fact, you don't make a plan. So today we are exploring, and I think I have about 10 more minutes left. Yes, we are exploring how to make a plan for your pet, because it is so important to make that plan in a way that it can be reality tested and implemented. Your attorney will thank you. Your trust and estate attorney will thank you. And you know who else will thank you? Your veterinarian. Did you know that a veterinarian is not supposed to care for a pet unless he has permission to care for that pet if it's brought in by someone else? Not always enforced. I talk to my veterinarians all the time on how they really should enforce that. It is in their best interest. But most of them say, oh, well, I know it's the housekeeper, I know it's the friend, I know it's the son. I said, I get it, but you really should put that in writing. And a lot of vets now are so appreciative when a client walks in and says, hi, my name is Deborah, this is my pet Junie, and if you follow me on Facebook, which I hope you do, you'll have seen pictures of Juniper, my new Irish setter puppy. He's a year old now, he's not so new, he's a little old, but I walk in, I show them Junie, and then I hand them the MAP plan, which says if something were to happen to me, my son, Thomas, or my husband, Jim, would be bringing Junie in. And if my son, Thomas, or my husband, Jim, were with me because I'm in the hospital, then my friend Carolyn, my friend Susie, my friend Anne-Marie might be taking the dog to the vet, because those are the 3 people who I have in writing set up my MAP plan with. They know what to do with my pets. And in addition, they have a copy of the MAP plan. And not only is it my vet that will take care and know that these are the people I've appointed to care for my pets, but they have the MAP plan that they can take to their vets, and they can see that they've been given permission to care for this pet. And they are able to care for the pet knowing they'll get paid, knowing they have permission, knowing this is what they're supposed to do for me while I'm indisposed. So the MAAP plan helps you navigate the journey your pet takes when you can't care for it. It is imperative. When I wrap up, I usually say, please don't think that if you place the care of your pet in your will, you've done everything to care for your pet long-term, short-term. You've done the minimum. And sometimes if you don't create a trust outside the will that is accessible by your caregivers, by your attorney to pay for the care of your pets when you're not dead, you've done a disservice to your pet. You really need to have both a trust in your will that helps fund the care of your pets if something happens to you when you are deceased, but you also need one outside your will. And there's certain names for these things that I won't bore you with because your attorney will tell you all about them if you ask. You need to ask. You need to be proactive. You need to say to your trust and estate attorney, I watched this woman talk about the MAAP plan. Maybe you should too. And I'd like to make a plan that funds the MAAP plan if I'm not dead yet. Because most of the people who come to my program say, Deborah, what you brought up are really good ideas and good things, but I'm all set, it's in my will. And as irreverent as I can, I say, well, it's a good thing you know you're going to die. Because if you don't die, it's going to be a little circuitous for your pets to be taken care of because all of your directives are in your will. You really want to make sure you have something outside your will, easily accessible to you and to others for the care of your pets. So remember, the MAAP plan stands for Making a Plan Addressing the Needs of Your Pet, which on another one of these webinars I'll go into in depth because, believe me, when you address the needs of your pet, it will be a document that you edit at least 17 times because you'll go, oh my God, I forgot that if you leave the blinds down, Junie's going to chew them to death. But who would know that unless you wrote it down? So you have to address the needs and the conduct, the naughtiness of your pet. Do they get along with other dogs? Don't they get along with other dogs? Do they take certain medication? Can they eat certain food? The list goes on and on and on, which we address in the Blueprint program, which you are more than welcome to join when we finish this webinar, this free webinar. You'll probably get a link from my wonderful assistant telling you if you want to join us starting in January, go right ahead. We just had the last of 2017's Blueprint recording, and now we're going to go into 2017, and the more the merrier because it's a rotating group. But you really need to make sure that you have a plan that somebody can implement. Your trust and estate attorney will be happy to implement it if, in fact, they know about it. They'll be happy to talk to the people who are going to care for your pets because they don't want to care for your pets, and they don't want to try to find somebody to care for your pets. They want you to do that before you need it. And you want to fund it in a way that doesn't break the bank. So some people say to me, I've given this lunch and learn to trust and estate firms all over. They say, well, how much should you put in a trust, for pets? And I go, well, you can put in a year's worth of money, but sometimes you don't have pets and you want to pull that out, and that's a revocable trust. But if you're over 65, that money may be invaded if Medicare needs to care for you if something happens to you. So then you want to put just a small amount in because, quite frankly, the people who are going to be taking care of your pets shouldn't be taking care of your pets because they're going to get $10,000. I always say put enough money in to transport the animal to the person, so that might be $500, $1,000, and then instruct your attorney to add to the pet trust as needed or pay the person who's caring for your pet because that's what they can do. There are so many things you can do that you don't know about because we haven't explored it on a proactive level. We've only explored it on a reactive level. So that's what the MAAP plan does. We make a plan and we edit it every year. If you join the Blueprint program, not only do you get to stay as long as it takes you, hopefully only 5 sessions, because I really want you to be complete in 5 sessions. So that's MAAPS. S is for scheduling the review, because we want you to make sure that you keep up with your pet's needs. Anything they need, they want, we want you to do. So in closing, I'm so grateful all of you are here. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to return the email and we will get back to you to answer your questions. You'll receive this recording so you can listen to it again if you've missed part of it. And if you want to join us on the Blueprint program, we would be thrilled because you would be taking those steps that will enable you to plan for your pet long-term, short-term. Your trust and estate attorney will be thrilled because they'll be able to refer to it in your will so that you will be able to have that plan come to fruition and you won't have to be dead yet. And you'll have concrete plans for your pets. After breaking my ankle, I knew that not having concrete plans and having 9 dogs was pretty stupid. But you know what? Not having concrete plans and having one animal isn't much smarter. One animal is a little bit easier than a multiple group of animals. In addition, I do this for a lot of rescues. So if you know a rescue, love to give them a program so that they can plan for the care of their pets. If you adopt, don't shop, and you don't have a MAAP plan in place, that pet's going back to the shelter or the rescue. You're the only one between it and the shelter and rescue. So join us. It's painless. And we will let you know how to join the Blueprint program, how much it's going to cost, and hopefully you'll join us and be part of it. This is Deborah Voda Hamilton, Hamilton Law and Mediation. You've been watching the free webinar for the MAAP program where you plan for the care of your pets, long-term, short-term, in case something happens to you. Until next month when I do this again, kiss your pets for me, take care of them, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year in the Blueprint program. Take care and have a great afternoon.